So next I'd like to introduce you to the MRI4D Motion Phantom. So this is a cross-platform phantom that you can use on practically any system, but it is MR safe, and it has been tested to be image and artifact free up to 7 Tesla, so it's actually quite useful in those high field machines as well. But we are partnered with ViewRay, and we've developed features of this phantom along with them to be able to provide high quality QA on their Meridian systems. So they definitely support our Phantom, and they actually use it for commissioning of their new systems. So we definitely have enjoyed working with ViewRay to establish proper QA techniques and the devices that are useful for those processes. And we also are an active member of STARLIT, which is the System Technologies for Adaptive Real-Time MR Image Guided Therapies. And this is a group of leading scientists or research group that are developing the tools that are used for adaptive therapies that are coming down the pipeline. So, we've received a commendment from the auditing body that recommended our Phantom be used by those leading manufacturers to develop tracking technologies and gating systems. So we're very proud of that, and we could collaborate with them to perform high-end QA and be able to bring the latest technologies to customers. So the MRI4D Phantom is an advanced tool that's mostly used within MRI, but it can definitely be used within CT and PET applications. And the reason for that is the hollow body. So this body can be filled with various contrast media, and you can alter the level of contrast for your imaging. So whether you need to optimize it for MRI or optimize it for CT, you have the ability to do that. And so the body itself, the inserts, and the targets are all adjustable in terms of what material is within them. So in addition, you can also change your orientation of the Phantom if you choose. You can have it what we call a head first orientation or feet first orientation. You can have the motion within the center of the body, or with simple adjustments, you can have it on either side of the Phantom. So in addition, one of the key options on this Phantom is the ability to perform latency measurements, which I'll go into later. But basically, if you can get a gating signal from your delivery system into the Phantom, you can perform latency measurements without the need of an oscilloscope. So that's pretty exciting. But in addition, I wanted to point out that our controller itself is an ultra low latency controller. And what that means is it doesn't introduce significant latency to your testing process. So if you had a device that had unacceptable latency, you can't really rely on your results that you're getting because the Phantom itself is introducing an error. So we have lowest latency available on the market, and it provides you with accurate results when you're doing those types of tests. And in addition, we have produced a Phantom that, again, it's MR safe up to 7 Tesla. It has superior imaging quality, and it is able to perform with those systems. So we've gotten rave reviews over the image quality, and it is becoming a high demand item. And so in addition to that, we do offer a quick one connection setup for setting up with the cables. It's a very quick setup. So if you're doing periodic testing, it's not a system that you're going to avoid testing with because it's so cumbersome to set up. It's very, very easy to use. I'll go into in depth more about the software later. And we also offer a number of inserts similar to what we were talking about earlier in terms of dose verification, but on the right side of your screen you can see the offerings that we have, and I'll go into a little more detail on this next slide. So taking a closer look at our inserts, the first one on the left side is our film cassette, and this has a very large surface area for your EBT3 film, and the nice thing about it is you have a tray that can be inserted and removed that is not connected directly with the fluid. So there's really no mess when you're dealing with removing your film or placing a new film in. You can keep your contrast materials in the insert itself and then just very easily slide the film in and out of position. We also provide solid targets, so this can be used for planning a treatment to the volume or for an object that can be tracked. And there is also the option of using a fillable sphere. So this sphere is 30 millimeters with an internal diameter, and you can place contrast material in that as well and use it as a separate area where it can be targeted or dose delivered to as well. In the middle, we have an ion chamber insert that has a sphere as its target, which you can visualize here, and it also has a channel grooved into it to be able to view where the isocenter would be or the center of the ion chamber would be. In this orientation, it is central. So with this, if you wanted to use it for 3D motion, you would have the offset option. And again, you have a similar solid target. You have a fillable target option. And we also have an MV tracking target. And this was brought on by the use of the Unity system, where they like to use their MV imaging to be able to view a target as well. But this can also come in handy when you're doing CT imaging or even on a treatment unit. So there are different features that we can use with that. And then to the right, it's a similar setup, but with this case, it's a cuboid tracking target. And this one's in the offset orientation. And with the cuboid, this is helpful for users who want to view the sagittal plane, but off of axis, where you only want to see, you don't want to see the actual ion chamber sleeve in there. And what you can do with that is, or why it's nice, is if you use the sphere target, as it's moving in multiple dimensions, it's going to change volume. Whereas for some uses, like as an example in latency measurements, you may want that volume to remain the same and just to be able to do that testing. So this was actually like a vendor request, and we provided that, and it's become a very highly sought after feature, and it's very useful in doing those sorts of tests. So Modus also offers accessories for the MRI4D Phantom, and one that I'd like to focus on a bit here is the ViewRay Meridian Cradle. And this was designed to allow quick and easy setup on the couch itself. And it also offers a way to easily place the phased array coils that are required for imaging. So you can see here on this image, the phased array coils will slide into the cradle itself, and it's easily wrapped around. And it's designed so that the components of the phased array coils do not interfere with the Phantom itself. And we have also included a way to be able to change positioning, so you don't always have to have the motion in this location. You can just simply swap a couple of pieces, and you will now be able to add motion in the center. So this is something that's available to our customers, and again, this just shows us trying to work with our major equipment manufacturers to provide the best solutions for our customers. So a topic of discussion that garners a lot of attention when we talk about our MRI4D system is its ability to detect overall latency when your linear accelerator. And why that is important is we have to accommodate for any delays in beam on and beam off triggering with motion management, and you have to include margins. So if you actually have an accurate understanding of what the delay is, you can accommodate for that and actually reduce your treatment volumes. So again, going back to escalating our doses, providing better outcomes for people. So the MRI4D has this feature built in. So if you're able to get the gating signal from your linear accelerator and you input it into our coaxial connections, you can do these measurements without the need of an oscilloscope, but it also does an automated analysis of what those measurements are, as you can see on the graphic on the left, which I'll discuss all this in the demonstration to follow. But on the right, you can see a user quantifying their latency using our Phantom with that cuboid target that I had mentioned. And they've set a range of the beam on and the beam on time, and then they measure the latency based on this process. So at minimum, you're going to want to know what your latency is at the beginning, but it is an ongoing QA that needs to be done because, as you're well aware, these systems have so many components and so many moving parts that it doesn't take much for there to be an increase in that latency. So if you're not doing a regular QA and making sure those numbers haven't changed, you won't be able to rely on the planning processes that you're using.